July 4th, 1946. A hill outside Gdańsk. Thousands gathered, children on shoulders, vendors working the crowd, as if for a public fair. 11 condemned prisoners beneath nooses, among them a 24-year-old woman so striking that prisoners at Stutthof had called her the Beautiful Spectre. That name was not admiration. How she ended up on that hill, and why the crowd cheered, begins long before this moment. Human beings possess an instinct to seek safety in familiar, non-threatening faces. In the structured terror of the concentration camps, a youthful, symmetrical face offered a fleeting, false promise of mercy. But first impressions became fatal errors. Outward attractiveness did not signal innocence. It functioned as a mask, hiding an appetite for violence that defied expectations. To understand how a young woman from Hamburg became a symbol of administrative murder, the narrative must turn back the clock. The recorded history of Jenny-Wanda Barkmann begins in the dockyards and streets of her youth. On May 30th, 1922, Jenny-Wanda Barkmann was born in the port city of Hamburg. The surviving historical record of her early life is remarkably thin, leaving a quiet void where one might seek clues of future cruelty. No documents present her as a childhood fanatic or an early zealot of the Nazi regime. Before the war, she simply finished elementary school and found work as a pastry shop assistant. By late 1944, the pressures of a failing war forced a shift. With German men desperately needed at the combat front, the SS actively recruited civilian women to guard the expanding camp system. Barkmann, then 22, answered this call. She entered the service as an Aufseherin, a female overseer, and received her official assignment to Stutthof, a concentration camp near Gdańsk. She was no longer just an ordinary civilian. She had entered the camp system. Located 34 kilometers east of Danzig, near the Baltic coast village of Stutthof, Stutthof occupied a grim place in the geography of the Holocaust. Established on September 2nd, 1939, it was the first Nazi concentration camp built outside the pre-war borders of the German Reich. It would also become one of the very last to be abandoned, remaining in operation until the final hours of the war in Europe on May 9th, 1945. Over those 12 years, the camp expanded from a few makeshift wooden barracks into a vast, industrialized system that processed approximately 110,000 prisoners. Under the control of the SS, Stutthof became a site of systematic destruction. An estimated 65,000 people died within its perimeter, succumbing to typhus epidemics, deliberate starvation, and mass executions. In its final phase, the camp's infrastructure of murder grew to include a brick crematorium and a gas chamber, where up to 150 victims could be killed at a single time. During the 1946 trial in Gdańsk, the cold numbers of wartime statistics gave way to the quiet, devastating memories of those who survived Stutthof. Former prisoners took the stand to describe the actions of Jenny-Wanda Barkmann, revealing a daily routine of direct violence. They testified that she regularly beat female prisoners, delivering blows that left victims broken on the muddy ground. When new transports arrived, Barkmann stood on the selection platforms. Survivors recalled her pointing fingers at women and children, sending them directly to the gas chambers without hesitation. What made these acts terrifying to the inmates was the bizarre vanity that accompanied them. Witnesses remembered Barkmann carefully adjusting her hair and smoothing her neat uniform while presiding over these selections. She behaved as if she were completely detached from the human suffering around her, treating mass murder as a mundane task that required her to look her best. This stark, chilling contrast between her youthful, neat appearance and her capacity for violence led the prisoners to coin a specific name for her, The Beautiful Spectre. It was never a title of praise or romantic fascination. It was an expression of pure dread. To the inmates, her symmetrical face was not a sign of humanity, but a horrific mask. Her physical appearance did not offer mercy. It made her unpredictable cruelty seem entirely unnatural, transforming her into a ghostly figure of death who haunted the camp's pathways. Human instinct demands that cruelty wear a recognizable mask. It is a comforting fiction to believe that those capable of monstrous acts must look deformed, broken, or obviously dangerous, offering a warning before they strike. Yet, Jenny-Wanda Barkmann was only 22 years old when she arrived at Stutthof, presenting the world with nothing more than the unremarkable face of a young civilian. She carried no visible mark of malice, nor did she advertise the terror she would bring. Her victims had no warning, because evil rarely arrives in the form people have been trained to fear. In January 1945, as Soviet forces drew within 50 kilometers of Stutthof, the SS ordered 37,000 prisoners onto brutal death marches westward into the freezing winter. In the chaos of the German collapse, Jenny-Wanda Barkmann abandoned her post and attempted to vanish into the civilian population. For several months, she hid in the ruined streets of besieged Gdańsk. Her anonymity ended in May 1945, when she was recognized and arrested at the Gdańsk train station. On April 25, 1946, the Special Criminal Court in Gdańsk convened to try 30 Stutthof staff members, including Camp Commandant Johann Pauls and a cohort of 6 female guards. Over the 5-week trial, former inmates pointed directly to Barkmann from the witness stand, detailing her active role in the selections. She reportedly watched the proceedings with calm, almost flirtatious detachment. On May 31st, the court handed down a guilty verdict and a sentence of death. A famous legend later claimed that Barkmann dismissed her fate with a flippant remark about life being short, but no official court transcript or contemporary record verifies she ever spoke those words. On July 4th, 1946, a massive public spectacle convened on Biskupia Gorka, a small hill overlooking the city of Gdańsk. 11 condemned prisoners from the Stutthof concentration camp, including Commandant Johann Pauls and 5 female guards, were brought to the site on the backs of military trucks. Among them stood Jenny-Wanda Barkmann, who was 24 years old. A crowd of thousands gathered on the grassy slopes to witness the execution, transforming the judicial sentence into a highly charged civic ritual. Families stood together, and children were hoisted onto shoulders to catch a glimpse over the sea of onlookers. When the trucks finally pulled away, leaving the condemned suspended from a row of heavy gallows, the crowd surged forward in a wave of collective anger and curiosity. For a traumatized post-war society, this raw, highly visible display of punishment was a public attempt to close an agonizing wound left by years of occupation and terror. Yet the focus on a single, striking face risks obscuring a far larger reality. Jenny-Wanda Barkmann was only one of thousands of young German women who volunteered to staff the concentration camps. While her appearance made her easy to remember, the vast majority of these female guards slipped quietly back into ordinary post-war life. They changed their names, returned to their hometowns, and avoided trial entirely. By focusing on the memory of one notorious overseer, history often overlooks the wider system of civilian participation that allowed such cruelty to occur. If you want to explore more hidden chapters of history, subscribe to the channel. We still look for monsters with obvious faces, forgetting that the deepest cruelty often looks entirely ordinary. While one specter remains frozen in infamy, thousands of others slipped back into society unrecognized. The warning survives. Evil rarely wears the face we expect. Subscribe for more history.